Welcome to this presentation of the program Budget Master. Budget Master is a plugin of the software package TileMaster Pro, which calculates the industrial cost and the profit margin of each product. Budget Master is extremely easy to use and requires a minimum amount of data input to be able to calculate the industrial cost of the product. One of the most interesting features of Budget Master is the ability to calculate the cost of the product using mainly the information already saved in the TileMaster database. As we can see in this table, the industrial cost and the profit margin are the result of a very accurate analysis, where the cost of each cost factor are partitioned on each production department. The heart of the calculations performed by TileMaster Pro 32 is the Relational Database, which contains all the data sheet of the raw materials, of the semi-manufactured products like glazes and bodies, and the finished products. The data sheet of each raw material can be opened searching by name or by code, or selecting the raw material from a pop-up menu with the list of all the raw materials available in the database. The structure of the semi-manufactured product datasheet is similar to the raw material datasheet. We can see here the formulation on the top left, the cost structure on the top right, and the ball mill to be used for this glaze on the center left. Many more information can be saved in different pop-up windows, and the user can customize the windows to be displayed on the screen. Here again, the administrator of the system can assign different levels of authorization to each user. The finished product datasheet is quite more complex than the raw material or glazes datasheet. The main part is the production datasheet, partially shown on the top. The finished product datasheet can contain also all the information needed for the cost and operative margin calculation. For this reason, we see here on the center left the selling price of the product, the information about the body, and on the bottom left the partitioning factor for general and commercial expenses and the information about the packaging. A very important part of this datasheet is the table of the productivity parameters on the bottom right. On this table we have the productivity in each department, or the number of pieces per minute, and the waste. This is the technological waste inherent with the product, not the waste caused by the malfunction of a part of the plant. We can also assign a loss of glaze and a loss of product to each production startup in order to increase the cost of short production runs. In order to calculate the cost and the requirements, TileMaster needs some additional information, like the cost and the average service life of silk screens, or the cost and the average waste of each packaging component, and so on. These information are saved in specific accessory datasheets. In order to do the right partitioning of the industrial costs between the production sectors and the production department, it is necessary to input some configuration parameter for the sectors and for the departments. The cost for factory management and for depreciation will be partitioned over the sectors according to the parameters given in each sector datasheet. Each production department of each sector must be configured filling the relative datasheet. The department datasheet contains the information about the number of workers, the specific consumption of fuel and power, the maintenance, spare parts, and miscellaneous costs. The Budget Master concept is always the multiple partitioning. For example, the total cost of power will be divided between the departments according to the information about specific consumption, number of hours of daily work, and number of days worked in a week. As alternative, if the factory has a metering system, the actual consumption can be used as input. Once all the information about raw materials, glazes, and finished products are saved in the TileMaster database, and the configuration of the sector and departments is completed, Budget Master is ready to calculate the cost of production and the profit margin for each product. The only information that is necessary to input each month will be the total cost for each cost factor: labor, factory management, power, fuel, maintenance, consumption material, miscellaneous, and depreciation, and the quantity of production of each item. This is the input window for the quantity of each item delivered to the warehouse for each month. The input can be done daily or monthly. This data can be imported directly from the warehouse. The information from the warehouse must be complete with the exact number of square meters for first, second, third, and even fourth choice, and must also include the selection waste, because this is a very important factor in the cost analysis. We can start with the cost analysis. Now we have all the costs of raw materials, glazes, bodies, screens, packaging materials saved in the TileMaster database, and we configured the partitioning factors for labor, factory management, power, fuel, etc. We have the boxed quantities of each item, and we can start with the multiple partitioning algorithm, which will split the total cost on each production item. Managing in this way, the total of the theoretical cost will always match the total of the actual costs. The first result of the partitioning calculation is the distribution of each cost factor to the sectors and then to the departments. Selecting the production sector, we can analyze in detail the cost of each item manufacturing in the selected period of time and in the selected sector. The cost analysis result can be approached from different points. It is possible to look at the analysis by departments, or by cost factor, or even check the average cost of the glazes per square meter or the average cost for packaging. When the proper table is selected, it can be expanded full screen. This is the full screen table of the analysis by department. Here we have, for each item, the cost of the body, of the pressing, on the glaze, of the glazing, and so on. The table has more columns on the right. This is the next part of the table, which goes up to the operative margin. In this case, the table is ordered by the code of the product, but it can be ordered by the name of the product, by the name of the series, the category of the product, the size, or the typology. Selecting the row of a specific product, it is possible to see the complete cost analysis on a single product as a double entry table. This table contains all the information about the industrial cost divided by department and by cost factor, and the calculation of the operative margin.